Welcome to the Vigor Life Podcast, a source of inspiration, lessons, stories, skill sets, mindsets, and strategies to invigorate and expand all areas of your life. Let's go.
Hey, what's going on? We're here back with the Vigor Life Podcast, and I have back on the show none other than my brother, Martin Rooney, coaching greatness himself. And we're getting a quick one in because you know we can talk for forever. But we're getting a quick one in because we just had a coaching greatness event out here at Vigor in Seattle, which was phenomenal. Over 60 coaches. Highly recommended. If you look it up when the next one is going on and sign up for it. Damn it! Actually, I believe that everyone should do coaching greatness once every 2 to 3 years and just do that for the rest of your life. Because Martin will probably live forever. So, but on a serious note, that's how good it is. And it's like if that doesn't fire you up, man, to be the best coach ever, you probably shouldn't be in this profession. To be honest with you, but yeah, it was phenomenal. But we also got to do some really cool shit this weekend. Let's start with that one. That was we got to every time Martin comes around, we're always doing some fun stuff. This weekend was. Our pike place and salmon on a stick, which is kind of like our regular go-to move, and the crumpets and stuff. But then we did Rattlesnake Ridge hike, which was great. But last night we went with Joel Jameson and flew around. Man, that was really phenomenal. It was like we did flew over the White River and then flew into the sunset. This sounds like very romantic right now. Flew into the sunset of Seattle downtown, around the Space Needle, over the buildings. That was actually probably the greatest view that I've ever got, man.
Well, hey, for anybody that's listening, Luke and I have had some amazing adventures. I mean, we have been through Australia. We have toured through Europe, down from Slovenia into Croatia. We've been into Canada, all over the United States. And man, last night we were talking about it on the way back. And I think this is pretty interesting too, is that hey, last night we were all coaches for each other. Mm-hmm. And since we're talking about coaching today, it's almost like a coach. A big job is to create this moment or this memory for somebody that they don't forget, and they actually take a different action because of it. And we were talking about this, that Luka and I have shared these really cool moments. And that's what I think why we like hanging out together, is there's just something always really cool that happens and is special because we're coaching each other up. And last night, as he said, we were flying out towards Mount Rainier, and I've been in a helicopter multiple times before, but Joel was so smooth, and this helicopter was so tiny. I didn't get nervous. I got more relaxed, and man, and then we were just low level flying over this White River, but then just carving around the city. It was something we won't forget, but we were all offered a different perspective, and it was because of everybody else helping each other out, which that's what coaching is about. Man, and it's funny because people don't think about that as much, right? Like, even friends getting together, like being able to coach each other up. But that's why, we talked about what's the most important job in the world. It's like being a coach. Yeah, being a coach to somebody. And that's actually what I wanted to bring up, today when we talk, is just the focus of the craftsmanship and the art and the mastery of coaching, and how I believe, it's really kind of still shifted to the side too much. What I mean by that is, we obviously coach a lot of people with gyms, and that's part of what we do. And seeing that the focus on everything else, it kind of drops off, which it's important. Sales is very important. Marketing is very important, like crucial when it comes to business. But because people put, whatever you focus on grows, but if you don't, it's going to digress, right? And so in the scenario, I think a lot of people kind of just jump over that and go like, I'm good enough here. It's all good. Let's just, give me the stuff that's going to bring people in, bring me the stuff that's going to, make me a ton of money. And the reality is, I believe that that's really actually the thing that's going to be the foundation to make you the money. But also, it's the most important thing, because that's what helps people change. And you said it earlier. You said, that a coach creates a moment that makes somebody do something different than they were going to, and takes them down to the path of what they want versus, what they don't want. And that's the job of a coach. And here's how I would even describe it as you were mentioning it, because if it's where fitness people we're talking to, but it could be anybody. If you're a parent, if you're a boss, if you're a coworker, I just don't think people had the epiphany that I had a long time ago, where I started to realize, holy cow, how I've produced my body of work was because I was able to coach somebody else to get them to do the stuff. And how I always say it is that they know they should be doing anyway. And so therefore, it's almost like coach is at the top, but instead people think of themselves as trainers, like, hey, let me learn some new exercises, or I got to know more about nutrition. And then it might, if they're smart enough, they might dive a little into marketing or sales. But here's the thing. You can't sell somebody if you can't coach them through the sale. You can't market to somebody if you can't coach them in the direction that you want them to go. It's almost as if the coaching piece is the most important, but as you described it too, and we always talk about, but I didn't have any education in that. There was not really, I didn't get schooled in that. I don't really have any great books on that. There'll be books from coaches about maybe some games they coached or something, but it's been something very difficult for me over the last 20 years to piece together. And the more I see it and the value of it now with Training for Warriors, with these thousands of people writing in of how their lives are changing, I see like the coach is the most important job in the world. Like if the world had way better coaches, we would have less problems. There would be more successful people. And as I quoted, during the course from Emerson, every person wants someone in their life that will inspire them to be what they know they could be. And really that means, man, we all want a coach and we're dying for it, but there are so few of them, or people just don't realize their job. We don't do a good job at it. And that is why I'm doing this course. That's why it had such an effect on everybody. And I hope it continues to create a movement until someday it's like, hey, man, yeah, I got to learn marketing or sales or whatever else, but holy cow, am I working on my skills as a coach?
So two things like that you brought up. Number one, I think the tagline for, coach gets people to do what they know that they should do.
Yeah.
That's powerful, right?
And that was, by the way, a breakthrough. Because remember, I called you out there the thing, and I was like, Luka, I'm having a breakthrough right now.
Put it down.
Yeah, I was like, write this thing down, where it was just, holy cow. We see these people spend their lives learning about nutrition, and it's like, wait a minute, I can grab anybody off the street. They know fast food's not good for them. They know when they're eating too much. They know when they're eating something that they're probably even allergic to. Like do we need more science, or but wait, can you get anybody to do it?
Yeah.
Right. And that was where I had the breakthrough. It was like, holy cow, wait a minute. Everybody knows exercise is important. Everybody knows they should be in the gym a handful of days a week. Everybody knows 8 hours of sleep, but can you get somebody to do that? See, this is the gap I'm trying to close, because it doesn't matter if 8 hours of sleep's important, if you don't do it and you can't get anybody else to do it.
Yep.
Like then you're not a coach for somebody else, and you're not a coach for yourself.
Because I think that's the sedation technique sometimes, right? Like, well, what's the other thing? What's the other thing you were talking about? Whoa, hold up. Like, how about sleeping more?
Yeah,
how about getting your 4 workouts in a week, right? It's like getting that stuff done. And that's what, so for me, that was like, I wouldn't even just say the epiphany of like, getting people to do what they already know they should do. Because I've talked a lot about that on a podcast, as far as like, actually doing less, because most people take on humongous things.
Or they get too detailed and they major in really, really minor stuff.
Exactly.
Where, like we were talking about, like, man, if you can't get the 8 hours of sleep, if you can't eat right, you can't get into the gym 3 or 4 days a week, like, man, what else are we talking about?
Hey, back in the day, I remember this was a long time ago. I don't know if it was one of the TFW level 1 certs or whatnot. Talked about, this is like some foundational stuff about being a great coach, but it's just like you got self-management and self-awareness, self-management.
Yeah, that was real old stuff.
And then client awareness, client management. But that still comes up, right? Because what it really says is you have to be self-aware and be able to manage your own self before you go and try to help somebody else. I mean,
that's the obvious stuff. Like, and hey, and I did preface during the course, like, hey, you don't have to be a world record holder in some lift, or you don't have to be the fastest guy in the world to be able to coach speed. Hey, you don't have to have 10 PhDs or have been on on every diet on the planet. But the thing is, the more experience you have with anything, that is your value as a coach. So when people come to me, they're asking me how I did it, and we use that example. Man, would you go to a piano teacher that doesn't play piano? And, would you go to a martial artist and they don't know the martial art? Well, wait, you're going to go to a fitness person that they don't eat right, they don't get enough sleep. And I'll be bold enough to say this one too, for anybody listening. If you are making people do workouts you never did, that you made up, that are just a bunch of crazy numbers because it sounds real cool and you made a cool name, man, you're not coaching, man. And there will be this deep down subliminal thing where the person will be like, man, this person didn't do this, and I know this, and now I can't follow them. And remember that, guys, that word coach, when you're wearing it on your shirt, they're following you. You're the model, and you are supposed to be helping to get them to do the stuff they know they should be doing. And one of the best ways to do that is through experience. For instance, hey, we went to Rattlesnake Ledge, right?
Yep.
And yesterday, I'll tell you what, Luka coached me up because, hey, we had a great conversation on it. We're hiking up this mountain, but I didn't know how far it went. And after about 30, 40 minutes, and we're sweating and we're charging up this thing, doubt starts creeping in. I was thinking about this, like doubt started really creeping into my head. And I was thinking about maybe stopping, but then there was Luka right in front of me and he's going. And I started to say, well, man, he knows he's done this before. He knows he's not going to lead me like, or wreck me or hurt me. Like I got trust in him. And that, you see how it was your experience that was coaching me through. You didn't even have to say, hey, come on, man, keep going, keep going. That experience, and I know you'd been there, then I was going to follow you to keep making it. Now, when we stood up on the edge of this dangerous thing that no one else would get up on, maybe that wasn't the best thing to follow him for. Because when I showed that picture of my family and my wife at home, she was like, that didn't seem too smart. But we did get a pretty epic photo.
And that's most important.
But yeah, and that, by the way, but ultimately, do you see that? Like that was that lesson again, that you've been there, you did it. So like, I know, I trust you. I'm going to follow you to do it. Hey, for anybody listening, you can ask people to eat certain ways you don't do it. You can ask people to, cut Netflix and get 8 hours of sleep and you don't. You're going to tell people to stop on the caffeine and you're coming in with an energy drink bigger than your arm,
That's why I'm not telling anybody to stop their caffeine, by the way.
Yeah, you see that? I knew that was going to be a hard subject right there.
As I reach for my band, get me sponsored.
Although I did help him out yesterday because Luka's like, hey man, you got to have one of these. And I said, well, what's in it? He's like, it's like 50 coffees or 10 coffees. And I read the thing. I'm like, dude, it's 2 coffees. Like it's only 2.
2 really strong Turkish coffees.
But then I felt better about it because I was worried. I was like, if it's like 10 coffees, holy cow, that's probably not that great. But what we're getting at there is, hey, as the coach, as the parent, like it's this interchangeable word, boss, parent, role model, leader, like you're a coach.
Yeah.
And man, and so there comes a responsibility with that. We talk about that during the course, like you live in the responsibility. And if you are, you're gonna help more people. If you're not, there's going to be a disconnect, which is going on in fitness today, where it's crazy workouts that the people don't do, that maybe the people are a little scared, they're not connected, and then we're complaining why we can't get anybody to make a change. And so, hey, you might not like hearing that. You might say, man, I don't want to hear that. You tell me that's not fair, or like, I don't know, that's discrimination. Wait, I got to be fit to be a fitness coach, or I got to get enough sleep and eat right? Yeah. Like I'll be bold enough to say that. You want to be a great martial arts instructor, I think you should be a black belt in that martial art and live it. And man, then you should be a black belt in fitness and live that too. And
I like that, being a black belt in fitness and nutrition. I think that's great. I mean, and what that comes down to is like the audio has to match the video. And I do think this is an issue, right? Because what if Gene comes up and he's doing a 24/7 kind of following you around all day, and it's like, well, this is your life. Does it really? How much does it match of what you're telling people?
And yesterday. Because, hey, Luka was coaching me up in social media. Hey, social media is always changing. So yesterday I was doing the story essentially for the first time.
Follow Martin on IG stories, by the way.
Well,
damn it.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull off as many as we did yesterday. Holy cow. But yesterday people would have got a real look into my life. And if we go through that, holy cow, like if we took everybody through it, we got up, ate some good food. What did we do? We went to the market. We went to the market, we toured the market, we're down in the bookstore, we're trying to grow ourselves, just discussing books, thinking about books. Then we shop back here, quick workout, better food. Then there was a car show. Then there was a rent and car show. So we see this car show. And again, I'm not a car guy, but it was really inspiring. And it took you back and you're seeing all these different vehicles. And I was really just thinking of how, man, I wonder if Henry Ford really understood how he was going to affect the world with this idea. I was getting bigger ideas from that. Then all of a sudden we shoot out to Rattlesnake Ledge. Yep. We do this climb, we do this hike, which was demanding. It was tough. Then we come back, we got more food. Now I'm eating, this is like the 3rd time I've had salmon jerky, on this adventure. Then all of a sudden we're back. And by the time we got back, we drive right to a helicopter and do this like incredible, awe-inspiring helicopter ride. And then we went and had this amazing dinner after that with some of the greatest stories that could have been told, which is going to be another podcast.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
And that was the day. And within there, though, there were different posts that I put up to our business division and the different stuff that were the things that I was inspired on. I took a bunch of notes on things that I'm going to have to continue to write for either the podcast or something else. And what he's saying there, though, is if you got to look in there, like I'm leading the responsibility that if somebody wanted to follow and figure out, hey, you want to figure out how to coach more people, build your business, challenge yourself, improve your own fitness, man, I was doing that. And I will definitely say I'm no kid anymore either, but I've been doing it so long. That's how it works. So the audio yesterday matched the video
for sure. And the thing is, I think that over time, when you talk about body work, and I've been around you a lot, right? And this, I'm coming to a point here, right? Because I mean, shit, I remember when we were in Slovenia, driving. I think we were driving to Croatia I think it's from Croatia. And you're writing a blog post as I'm driving, right?
And so it was a good one too.
Yeah, it was a great blog post, but it's just like you had an idea and you're like, dude, I got to get this out right now. Here we are driving towards the mountains and like you're writing a blog post.
And I think there was one on the way there and back, and we spoke at the Slovenian Entrepreneurial Society. Remember, it was are you one of a million or one in a million?
Yep,
you know,
yep.
Which so I guess that's the thing too, and you'll learn about. I don't know I guess you could spin it that a coach has to be this way too. Coach can't ever stop growing. Coach can't be the one that stops growing. Like that's the guy that's got to always be leading and pressing. And where I think we get so stimulated when we're together is we talked about it. Remember, it's like our brains are so hooked on, we got to, like, my drug is a new idea. My drug is a new synapse connection in my brain that I never thought a certain way before, that takes me to a deeper or higher level, that now I'm able to share that with more people. And that's what a coach is. And that's what we were just downstairs, wait till the new one that's coming out, where it was all about perspective. Like that's what I learned last night, that holy cow, you lift up, see everything from a different angle, a different lens, a different perspective, everything changes. And then boom, what we were doing, and I'm like, Luka, what do you got an idea on this and that? And we threw a bunch of stuff and that's going to be used to coach other people up. But it was only because I have you could say the courage to get in that plane, but also the drive to continue to grow so I could grow somebody else. And man, that's the job of a coach too.
See, and I think that's one of the things that comes up from that. We talked about possibility. I think that's another thing that a coach does, is like create and show somebody possibility. Like, hey, this is what's possible. Because if you take somebody from small thinking and you make them suspend this belief, right, and go like, hey, look, this is what's possible in your life. This is what's possible for your business and your body and so on and so forth, right? It's like the FedEx sign you talk about. If you guys, I mean, I hope you guys have seen it. In FedEx sign, there's an arrow in there. Find it. But once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. And there's a lot of things in life like that.
And that's what a coach does for you. Even a bigger one, remember we were saying is, you know what, the coach, I say sometimes, it's kind of cool. A coach has to have like a crystal ball. You got to be a little bit like a psychic, and you have to see the future that the other person can't see for themselves. See, man, when people are coming to you, especially if we're just talking about fitness, and remember, we work with a lot of people in high-level businesses, a lot of other things too. People are really bad about seeing their future. They only see what's happening right now. And a lot of times they only see the challenge or the problem, you know? And you got to be there as the coach to be able to close that gap for where they're trying to get to. It's the same thing. Like when I was pursuing my black belt in judo, man, there was like, I was hitting plateaus. I was really stalling. And then you start to see how far away it is. And when people start telling you, yeah, that's going to be 10 years and you're in like year 1.5 or 2, man, it looks so far and you can't see that future. But the coaches were the ones that made that happen. And you know, what's interesting is when I started to see that someday that belt was, when I really started to see that it was going to be around my waist, you know what happened? That's when I started really accelerating. And, that's what a coach does for somebody, is you have to get them to see so clearly that thing of where they are going, and like you said, the possibility of it, the future of it, that's how you get them there. And that's where it's interesting, where my Coaching Greatness courses, hey, there's lots of layers to coaching. Like my Coaching Greatness courses are not about, hey, we're going to focus on the difference between internal or external cueing. We are not focusing on, hey, how to run a practice or how to schedule people or organize things. My course goes on a level people aren't talking about, like we just talked about, believing in someone else, seeing the future and the possibility in someone else. And although I can't see these as easily as, say, an assessment when I put somebody up against a wall and examine their range of motion, but it's real. And if I were to say which one is more important and how I've produced the results that I've produced from gold medalists and world champs and hundreds of professional athletes all the way down to young kids and national champs, it was the things that I talk about in that course. And you saw it, it wasn't just fitness people. There were people from all different kinds of things, and everybody left with what they had to get because everybody's a coach.
And the thing is, once you get a snippet of this, right? Because, man, I remember this, like, probably this is a decade ago, where you said, and this was probably one of the Perform Betters, where you were talking about stuff. You said, hey, listen, you know, people always ask me when you had all those NFL guys that would have, you know, #1 times in the combines and stuff, and be like, yeah, well, like, look, we did a lot of basic drills. There was no crazy drill,
super basic,
or but it's like, man, the #1 thing that I did was help them believe that they're the fastest.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and like I started a pro, and even for me in basketball, that's what's helped, right? It was like no, like I'm the greatest, right?
Yeah.
Like,
hey, Michael Jordan, every time he stepped on the court, don't think he stepped up there and he was afraid or didn't think he could do it. Or when Derek Jeter stepped to the plate, the guy's thinking he's going to get a hit. But the thing is, I bet they had coaches along the way that helped them do it. And what he's talking about there was true. Those NFL days, I might only get 20 guys. That was all I had, and I didn't get to choose them. But man, I had to make them the best. And this was an interesting thing that we talked about in the course too. Another breakthrough I had. Before they could ever believe in me, those guys, like, hey, I had a body of work. I had done a lot of stuff. They should believe something that they're in the right place. Mm-hmm. But before they could believe in me, I had to believe in them. You see what I mean? Because like somebody, that's this thing too, like a coach, everybody needs somebody that's believing in them. Like it's like the greatest gift, like that, like, wow, somebody believes I can do it. I'll say this, here's a story I don't always tell too. I was a pretty lousy student when I was a kid. And I was not doing well in school. And it was bringing me down, and I didn't like to be there. And as a result, then you recognize that you're not a good student. So then you're just getting less treatment, and you're in lower classes, and everything was going wrong. And man, it was 6th grade. So this wasn't 1st grade or 2nd grade. I went a long time not doing well. And there was this teacher, and it was the kind of the last marking period, and I got 5 A's and 2 B's. Now, I don't know how I did it, but that's what I got, because it wasn't like I was really striving for it. And this guy, he came up to me. He was, you could call him a teacher. A teacher is another word for coach too. And he said, hey, Martin, like, did you see this? You got like 5 A's and 2 B's. If you got 2 more A's, you would have got straight A's. And then he said the most important thing. He said, did you know you could do that? Did you know you could do that? And no, man, I didn't know I could do that. Like, no, that was like the farthest thing. Like, because I can remember getting C's and D's and, just not doing good, and everybody labeling me like I wasn't smart and going off to like special classes because I'm not reading good and all these things. And like this guy finally said, you could do that. And I'll tell you what, 7th grade, I never got a B again. Like, actually, I never got a B again the rest of my life. Like, till now, right now, this podcast is an A+, right? Like, there's no B's. Like, how I always say, like, I got no B game. Yeah. That's when that started. Mm-hmm. When I eradicated the B's, but that didn't come from here. Somebody gave that.
Somebody showed you
Somebody
the
gave me that. Yeah. Somebody said, you could do that. Like, man, maybe that's, hey, that could. Yeah. 4 super powerful words. You better say to your kid or somebody you love or somebody you're coaching, you can do it. You can do it. Right? Like, man, I don't know. Do we say that one enough?
No, and I was going to bring this up because I still see a lot of this, way too much of this in the industry. And it started, at least I noticed it. Maybe it started before that, but a couple of years ago, where people were like, I only work with committed people. I only work with committed clients. And I'm like, shit, then if that's the case, you're not going to be working with a lot of people.
Well, but that means you're not a good coach. Like, I'll get here. You know what we could do right now too? This could be another blog one. It's like signs you might not be a good coach. Number 1, you're only going to work with committed people. Number 2, you're only going to work with motivated people. Here's one. Man, you're just going to have a workout that is nonstop for a full hour where you actually never have to speak to anybody. You're just going to fill the entire hour with just nonstop exercise. Right? Because see, what you're doing is you're removing those coaching opportunities. Aspect, You're removing those moments. Here would be another one. You had a lot of bad coaches in your life, right? Because man, most people, whether it's you probably parent like you parent, you probably spend money like you were taught when you were growing up. Hey, the coaches you had, you probably coach a lot like that. So if you're punishing people with exercise, not a good coach, right? Like, and man, I got a lot of that. It was like you show up, hey, run 10 laps, do something else, all these things. And so a challenge during my course that we went over too is, hey, can you be the coach you wish you always had? Yeah. Can you be that guy? Like, that's who I'm trying to be. I'm not trying to be the coaches I had, because I had a lot of bad ones too.
Because it's crazy because the people really need more. Think about this. The most uncommitted people need the coaches most, right? But and the reality is, like, in certain areas of our lives, I've mentioned this before. Like, for me, like fitness and nutrition I'm very committed, but I need coaches in other areas to help me because I need to figure that stuff out. Now, and we could go deeper into what commitment means and finding clarity and all those different things. But the whole point is you have somebody that helps you see it, believe it, and then kind of show you the path towards and keep you accountable to it.
And Luka said something really, really important too. Here's another one. We could take it even deeper. You want to know when you're a sign of being a good coach? We already talked about it, that you're always looking for personal development and growing, but that you actually have coaches too. See, I want to get coached up. Like, I want to always get coached. And my line, is like, man, I want to be the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah.
You're like, if you noticed yesterday when we were at dinner, helicopter, we didn't do as much talking because, it was, but we actually did. We actually did. But do you see how I was asking a lot of questions? I wanted to learn more stuff. I didn't want to do the talking. I wanted to get coached. And that was just this open, free flow. But it was interesting. And hey, I'm calling some people out right now. At the course, hey, we had over 60 people there at the course yesterday, which was a great, or 2 days ago, which was a great course. But when I said, well, hey, how many people are sport coaches here? And man, there was like one person. And I'm like, man, there must be high schools here and junior highs here and youth programs here and all these things. And it's almost as if, like, sometimes when people get the title, then they think they're done. So here's what I would say. When you get called a coach, that doesn't mean you're done. Man or woman, when I say man, I'm just talking to everybody. Like, you're not done when you get that word coach. That's the beginning, right? Like, I learned that one. I just said be a black belt coach. When I got my black belt, when my sensei gave me that, he said the biggest fear he has when he gives that, in particular to Americans, this was a Japanese guy, and he said it's because they think it's over now. And in Japan, he said that's just the beginning. Like, your black belt is the start. And maybe we could, instead of the metaphor of black belt, like just the word coach. And man, when you put coach on the back of your shirt, that doesn't mean you're done and now you know everything and now you're just gonna deliver it. That means you gotta learn more and harder than ever, right? And that's what that's what this guy does better than anybody. Like, and hey, I try to aspire to that too. Like, it's just, how much more can I read? How much more can I learn? So I have more stuff to offer as a coach. Not, man, now I'm a coach, so I don't want to, I don't need anything anymore. But it's scary because this course, if everybody's a coach, which I think hopefully you should start, or at least we put that seed in your mind that you're understanding that a little. If you can understand that everybody is a coach, well, then where are they all at? Because that course should be the most important one. And rarely, for the people that I'm trying to reach the most, are the ones that show up, which is, it's kind of interesting,
It is. I noticed that. And that's, there's a lot of danger in that. Like, we talk about humility, but, 2 weeks, was it 2-3 weeks ago? I was doing another course that we had, the Steelmate cert, and somebody said, "Oh, you're doing this with us? You're gonna go through the cert?"
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I was like, "Yeah." Not only that, go through it.
I gotta learn it too.
I mean, like, I'm doing the whole shebang, and it's just like, I took. I mean, now it was on my phone, so I don't know how many pages, but I got a shit ton of notes from Saturday, right? Same thing. Somebody goes like, "Geez, like, you took all these notes?" I'm like, "Dude, that was, And he's like, "Haven't you been through it?" Like, dude, I've seen Martin talk 70 times.
Yeah, he's probably been to more of my stuff than almost anybody.
And it's like I constantly am picking stuff up, and sometimes it's things I've heard that I'm like, "Oh man, you know what? I need to be doing more of that." Sometimes it's the next level.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, "Hey, I've done this, but man, like, he just says something."
Well, and that's what the course was too. Remember, I told you it always changes because I'm always changing. So what the course was a year ago is not what it is now because I'm in a different spot where I'm delivering it from. And, and remember we did that whole shape thing. Like, man, there was some really cool stuff that I'm working on too. I just wish, if anybody's listening, you're an incredible writer and you want to help me out and be an intern or something, let me know, because holy cow, I got too many ideas now and just things that we need to get out there that it's really difficult to do that all yourself. But like, there were some big ideas.
We need a video crew.
Yeah.
That's what we
follow
need.
The whole thing around. You want to go on the adventures of your life.
Based on what you said, I said, look, if somebody ever tells you like, "Man, you've changed," I'm like, "Shit, good."
Yeah, I hope so.
Man, I'm like a different person, next week or next month from what I was today. I mean, that's what I strive for, right? To get better.
Well, and that's that growth stuff that, again, this is the stuff I don't think people talk about. I think people, when they say they call themselves a coach, that means they're supposed to know exercises and tell people what to do. Whereas nobody says, hey, when you accept the role as a coach, your job now is to ceaselessly grow and develop yourself so you know the stuff so you can help somebody else do it too. And kind of that's the job, man. The job is not like the stuff and make people do stuff. It's you have to continue to grow and evolve. And that's in everything because fitness has changed. And I wanted to get this out too. And because I got to catch a flight today too. We're always pushing the limits here. But we talked about motivation a little bit too. Remember we said, hey, the sign of a good coach or a bad coach, and it was like, hey, I only want to work with committed people. And you know what? I did only work with committed people. You work with UFC stars, you work with NFL people, they're committed, man. And they're motivated. Actually, you don't have to do much at all. Like actually, so that was probably sometimes the least coaching I ever did, because when people are so motivated, for instance, I make the joke, like I could have took my sneaker, put it in a blender and chopped it up and said, eat this to those people. And they would do it with a smile on their face, right? We had people that they had to gain weight to be a certain weight to get into the league, to maybe make it. And then they'd be waking up every 2 hours at night and having shakes and just the stuff that they would do, the hoops the people would jump through to make that stuff happen because they were so motivated. I wasn't coaching. I was like a guide on the tour. So what I'm throwing out there is you want the bigger challenges. You need to coach the unmotivated and those are the people that need your help. A UFC guy that can walk into any room and beat up anybody in there, that cat feels real good, man. Like that cat doesn't, he's pumped up about himself. But the world is so filled with people that are just looking for help and are so down, and no one's getting excited about that role as a coach.
And man, as you bring that up, it's fun. So just in the last 3 weeks, a couple of conversations I've had with my coaches, and I encourage this strongly for anybody that is a coach listening. I'll get this. I don't know if this is a good fit for me, right? This client. And I ask why. And it's like, wow, because I'm like, great, take them. Why? Because here's the thing, like you want to actually get as much variability in with the people you work with, right? I mean, everything from situations of whether somebody's trying to lose weight or maybe have a injury they're coming back from and a PT recommend, whatever it may be, right? Like, how do you get better if you don't actually work on that stuff? No, you can't get better. There's no way.
It'll be the challenges and the new stuff. Like I never improved, even when I was helping running businesses, and there were some of the stuff that you don't like doing. Because by the way, too, you're gonna in your job and your career, you're gonna have a lot of stuff you don't like doing. Yeah. But it was the stuff that I sometimes enjoyed the least, which was the stuff that made me the most. And whether that was from sales or marketing or handling people and interview process, those were the ones you had to win over, right? And those challenges become your greatest victories. Like I said, the guy that's already the fastest guy and you just keep him there, you didn't do that much. But the guy that everybody said had no shot, and man, you made things happen and you changed that person's life, and 10 years later, they're still calling you up and thanking you for it, man, that one's more valuable, right?
Absolutely.
And that's just from a sports thing. Well, how about that man or woman that loses 100 pounds and like you saved them, and then their kids are calling you up saying, thank you, you saved my dad's life or my mom's life or whatever. Like, man, but that was the toughest one. That's the one no one wants to work with, right? But it's so that might be another sign. Like he just said, if it's something that seems like a big challenge and man, you don't want to do it, that's probably your biggest opportunity staring you right in the face. And either you're afraid or you don't have the skills. But man, then you need to develop those skills, because if you become that person, I promise you, after the hard work, that's where you're
that's the kicker, man, because it's developing the skills, right? To me, automatically, that's a sedation technique. Well, I want to work with these guys because you feel more comfortable, because
and then you don't have to do anything. Yeah, you stay in your zone.
How do you get better? There's absolutely no way to do it. Whereas, I mean, Richard Branson will always say, right? Like I said yes, then I figured it out, and then you go and hustle. Man, and I did that stuff so many times I remember one time, like this was a long time ago, when I took on a figure competitor. I've never trained one before. But I said, listen, look, like I know the science of this stuff. I'm going to study it. I even said it, like, that's not what I specialize in, but I'll help you out. And, I ended up literally going home, studying for hours and hours and hours for 6 days, came back with a plan. And she was like, geez. And, we got an incredible result in 11 weeks. And then I started getting more of those people. But
and not only that, but watch this. So she had an incredible result. And the answer to this one, but who was the real winner?
They were.
You
well,
were.
I mean,
they were. They're the winner at the thing, but you're so this is what I try to get people excited about. The coach is the real winner. You're the one that learned all this stuff. You're the one that grew. You got all this great stuff, because you went through the pain. But you're the real winner. And this is what I say all the time, like. Because maybe some people didn't like to hear it, that it's like, oh man, now I got to know more stuff. I got to learn all these things. I got to work so hard. Yeah, but you're the winner. You're the one that gets all that. And then you just get to deliver it. And I don't know, that a lot of times whenever I'm feeling like, man, because, we're always pushing and always just digging in deeper into this stuff, but I'm the real winner there. See, the person that maybe reads my blog or comes to the event might say they're the winner when they left. No. I'm the one that won because I had to figure it out first.
So at dinner last night, we were talking about this, right? I said, hey, look, you know what we're gonna start doing? We're gonna like put this pitch together, and even if we pitch something that's 200 times,
still get better at it. Yeah,
we'd get really good at the pitch and getting clear on what,
and then you're
what
gonna
we're
find
doing.
that one person.
Exactly, right.
And that's, you know what, I don't know, there's probably a description for that, but it's, you know, whether you want to call it delayed gratification, whether you want, you know, there's a lot of, you know, different ways you can spin it, but it's just this kind of thing that you've got to, coach has to do the work first. And if anything else, hey, we're identifying simple principles that are all true. And it's like, you're going to have to do the hard stuff. But when you do, at the end of the day, remember I said, when we did the hike, one of the lessons I got last night, when, you know, when we had gone to the hike, and another thing I'm going to write about was I kept some internal talking. Remember we said talking versus listening. Could have been listening to my heavy breathing, could have been listening to my heart jumping out of my chest, or I could have been talking. And I was talking and I said, you got this, you've done the stuff harder than this, and it's going to be worth it when you get to the top. The work will be worth it. I was coaching myself up, which by the way, people have to be better at that too. Yeah. Like, man, I'm my own best coach. Like I don't coach myself down, I coach myself up. And then when we got up there, because it was tough, and I didn't know. You know, you had not described the view. I didn't know where we were going or anything. And when we got up there, it was like, holy cow, that's all it took to get there. Yep. Man, I would have walked for 3 more hours to get this. And that work, or that example of work, is the same stuff that people are doing every day. I know it's not easy to read books all the time, right? Or it might be painful at first, but man, it's going to be worth it when you get that information. I know it's like, man, whether it's building a business or spending time with that person that's really hard to win over or save, that's like, it could feel like torture at the time, just like the exercise on the hill. But man, when you save that person and that becomes your greatest victory, man, it's going to be worth it. And, you know, remember we were talking about that on the way back. Like, hey, guys, your greatest victories, I'll make you a little promise because we only got, I know, a few minutes left. And holy cow, did we drop some knowledge bombs. If this is not one of your most favorite podcasts ever, I don't know which one it is. Or I got to meet his other guests. But I had a Yugoslavian judo coach. He was an Olympic medalist. The guy was a monster. He's not with us anymore. And man, we would be in the dojo and we'd be crushing ourselves. And then he would put us through another round of randori and another round of randori. He would be pushing us because he came from that old Eastern Bloc mentality. I mean, this guy was hard as nails, but he was great too. And he taught me so many lessons, but one of them that always stuck in my head because he would keep saying it, would ring out when he would say it. And we'd be working so hard, and that's when he could feel it, how tired we were. And he would say, I'm going to make everybody a promise in here. On your day of victory, you won't be tired, right? He would keep saying that, man, on your day of victory, you won't be tired. And that one was ringing in my head when I was walking that hill a little bit yesterday, where it was kind of like, when I get up there, I'm not, and you know, when we got up there, I wasn't tired anymore. Nope. You know what I mean? When I got up there, it was gone. It was gone. There was no more pain. There was, oh, this is hard. There was no more doubt. There was no more this negative self-talk. It was all of a sudden like, boom, I'm here. And that's how it's been every time I've written a book or, you know, given the course the other day. Like, guys, when you start off that course and you know you got 10 hours ahead and you got to put on a show in front of all these people, you're looking at all that pain ahead and it's like, man, I don't know. Can I do it? Can I do that work? But man, when it finished and you get that applause and everybody's so pumped up, man, you're not tired, right? You're on fire. So if anything, I can convince you today, your job as a coach, and you are one, is super, super important. You got to continue to develop yourself. And when you're doing that work, I'm making you this promise. On that day, whatever your victory is, whatever it was you wanted and you got it, whether it was this money or a car or your house or you helped somebody or whatever it was, man, you won't be tired when the great stuff happens. You'll be pumped up. And if you know that now, then you got to do, or that you know that's going to happen then, you got to do the stuff now. And that is what people don't do. And that's why I am coaching you up right now to do it.
And the thing is, those principles, right? Because what I started understanding, like what you're saying, when you start framing your life and your challenges in that way, man, like that's when you start winning, because you understand that the challenge, the pain, the resistance, the obstacle actually is there because you know you're on the right path. Like, hey, listen, this is like you're gonna get something out of this, right? I always say I love the analogy of the video game, right? You hit boss level, you got to fight the boss right now, man. When you beat the boss, next level you get supercharged guns or another life, or a little heart fucking whatever it is.
You're more pumped up. You feel a little better.
Exactly, you know. And to me, it's like I started looking at that and you know what?
Hopefully, Luka's not playing a lot of video games, though. I'm gonna have to coach him up on that.
The video I'm playing is life, my friend.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
the best video game ever.
On the video game or on one of the videos we shot last night from the helicopter. I said, this is like a video game, man. Like
it
we were
is.
flying in downtown Seattle, like in the street
crazy.
racing cars. And I was like, this is better than a video game.
And you know, I mentioned this before, I think, but it's, you know, to me, it's like, man, life is like a game, and your purpose in life is to be the best damn player that you can be, you know, and to do that, guess what? You got to, like, I was always saying, hey, if I gave you a remote control, like for the game, like, I don't know, Nintendo or Xbox or something, and I was like, look, play this game, and all you got to do is you got to press the controller forward, and you get through the game and you win. And you'd be like, that's the shittiest game I've ever played. Like, I want challenges. I want to, you know, fight the villains and do all this and stuff, you know, and then you die, and then you go, all right,
this life one we're talking about, though, you want to minus the dying part.
You don't want to die. But let's equivalent the dying to you fail.
Yeah, you failed.
And learn a lesson,
You took
right?
a step back. Or your energy level came down a little bit, but you built it back up.
You got hit, but you got to recharge. But, you know, but to me, that really was kind of like this whole, you know, like, man, there is no way to get to the next level without that. Like, there literally is.
And that's what it's there for. And, you know, and hey, we're saying the same stuff that's been said forever. It's just, hey, everybody needs to hear it wrapped in a different package, and the package today is coaching.
Yep.
And maybe that might be the big breakthrough everybody had was, holy cow, I saw my job as a coach was to tell people to do stuff. Now I see it as I have to push myself to do more, so I can then tell the people how I did that stuff and get them there, you know, which I think we forgot that part. You know,
that's a big point. And I want to kind of come back to one thing that Martin mentioned real quick. We were just talking about it, actually got out of one of the books, but it was like, don't listen to yourself. Listen to yourself less, and then talk to yourself more. And what that means is, when you listen to yourself, it's usually the editor in your head. Oh, you can't do this. You're not made for this. You're too this. You're too that. Like your family.
I feel the pain.
Yes.
It's like too hard.
All the,
I'm
like
stressed.
You get drowned in those negative thoughts. That, you know, it's proven that most people, like, that's what churns in their head. And so you're listening to yourself. So listen to yourself less, but talk to yourself more. Coach yourself up more, I'd say, right?
It's say, you know, what positive things, you got this, you can do this. Everybody else has done this. One of the things I saw, what kept me going on that ledge yesterday was I was looking at not only following Luka up because I knew he'd been there, and I'm going to be writing a thing about this, but it was also there were people coming down, and some of the people coming down didn't look too damn fit. And because of that, I said, well, if they made it up there.
I remember we saw the one dude. The one dude was
there must have, like, this dude we saw was like Mr. Miyagi's dad.
For real.
Like, this guy had a cane. He was wearing pants and like a pair of dress shoes. He had to be 80. And I mean, he was moving slow, but we crossed him at about 3/4 way mark.
Yeah.
And remember, he made it because when we were leaving, he came up. And that was an inspiration because I was like, if this dude's doing it, like, I'm not turning around right now. So remember, if there's anything that you want, little coaching moment here too, if there's stuff that you want and you know other people have done it, then why can't you do it? You can do it too. You just have to do the stuff they did. And if that's taking on challenges and suffering through some pain, you know, you got to be open to do that, because like maybe the big conclusion to the whole thing is, because if you don't, then how are you going to show somebody else how to do it, right? Because that's what you got to do next.
And with that, yeah, because we got 4 minutes.
He's always pressing me. He's always pressing me.
I got to challenge this guy. But you know, with that said, like you said, you know, that if somebody's done it, and to me that was like one of the biggest epiphanies just in life. Why books were so powerful to me was because I would read somebody's story, or you know, if they were an expert for 20 years in that, and then they'd share that with you, and you go like, oh shit, like this guy did it, I can do it. Or like, here's the blueprint. Here's the, you know, here's how they overcame a struggle, this is what I love reading specifically, is people that had a problem and a struggle, and then how they overcome it, right? Because it literally goes like, man, like I can do this too. They did it, you know, and a lot of people, like, look, no matter how tough situation, I mean, I've had a lot of pretty, I would say, tough, challenging situations in my life, but there's a lot of people that have had it a lot worse, right? And when you read the people that have had it worse, that overcame it, and then how they did it, man, that stuff to me is just fuel.
Hey, guys,
all day.
I handed a book to somebody when we were at that bookstore. Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor Frankl. You want to see if you've got it bad right now or not? Read that book, like the 10 million other people that have. And ultimately, again, what you're saying there, this is an interesting way that I've always seen it as a coach right now. This is interesting. People pay for coaching, but that's not expensive. That's an inexpensive lesson. So see, if I pay Luka and he's, say, way better level in nutrition than I am, and I pay him to teach me, that's inexpensive. See, he paid the expensive lesson by having to learn it. So what types of lessons do you want in your life? You want inexpensive lessons. You don't want to make the humongous mistakes. You don't want to fail and do all these things wrong. So what do? You hire the people, or you get around the people, or you read about the people that have done it, and it's inexpensive. Guys, a book, if you can't spend 10 or 15 or 20 bucks on a book, then you are confused about what a value is of a lesson. That's what I always tell myself. I say, man, is there 10 bucks of value in this book? And it's like, hell yeah,
but
there's way more than that.
That's the thing, though. Like, I mean, think about
like
that.
Viktor Frankl's got $1 zillion, of what is in that book, because you will never suffer like the person did, and yet you can learn from that. Or I just gave that Lost City of Z to Matt, because he's such a traveler, and it's like this dude Percy Fawcett. Learn about him. You want to hear about a friggin' travel hero like this dude? There's some humongous lessons in there if you can dig deep enough for it, that are worth more than $3, because that's what that book is, because they've sold them all over the place.
And that, man, that's a nutcase type of thing, right? Because you still, like, you know what I hate? This is just a little pet peeve of mine, right? This is a little pet peeve of mine. And people are like, man, can I borrow that book from you? No, I fucking will not lend books, but I'll buy them for people.
Yeah, give it to
I'm like,
somebody.
I'll just buy it for you. But like, no, but can I just borrow it? I'm like, no, dude, because most, like, people don't know.
Luka says, because it's mine.
It's seriously, people, because back in the day, like, somebody wouldn't bring the book back and I'd be so pissed off. And they're like, dude, it's just a $15 book. Like, no, man, like, it's more than that. I read that and I got stuff out of it.
It's mine. It's like, they're like my trophies. Yeah. Like, but you know me, what do we do? What do we do at our summits and everything?
Man,
I give out hundreds of books. Like, man, I just bring out books, and just say the topics, what it is. Because anytime, it's getting harder now, as we've read a lot of books between us, that now, sometimes it's harder to find the book I'm looking for, but I always find the book that I loved. So what I do is I buy that and I give that to somebody else. And hey, what a great way to coach somebody else.
And just to, like, one of the first things that we do, we do it every single time.
Yeah, but we go right to the bookstore.
Man, we go downtown, we go get some salmon and steak and some crumpets, and we go to a used bookstore, and we're looking at books and, like, getting books. Like, that's, we're always like, what did you read? What did you get out of it?
Which takes us full circle to the coach has to always be growing, and that's kind of our job. Like, if I can't continue to learn and grow, then I don't have anything else to share with anybody else. Just like on this podcast today, we shared a bunch of lessons that we got in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, and because our brains were open for it, because we understand who we are as coaches, we're very receptive to the growth, and we took in new stuff that now I've got new ideas that I can share. Because what I would say is beware the day that I don't do any of that stuff, because then I got nothing else for you.
Yep. And the thing is, if you're, to end on this note, because we're running out of time right now.
Ran out of time, but he's still pushing it.
But we're going to overtime right now. Is share, like, to learn, to teach is to learn. And what Martin does a ton of, and I'm like learned a lot of that from him, is like why we're always putting stuff out, whether it's videos or Instagram or blogs or all of that stuff, is because when we learn things, if you share them, one, like, you're gonna learn it deeper, right? It's gonna stick with you. But then, man, this is how you get stuff out in front. So if you're a business owner, like, man, and you're learning these things, like, share them with the world, right? That's how you do it. But first, instead of here's the other part of this is, you learn something, don't just go on Instagram and share it. Like, hey, if you're coaching clients, that's where it should be going first.
Yeah,
that skin to skin, that face to face.
Remember who you have the biggest effect.
Absolutely. And not to say that, social media is bad or anything, because I love it. It's great. It's just, it's another megaphone for communication. But I see that a lot, that, like, people spend more attention on things like that versus the people that are the most important, which are their clients, their team, their business, whatever, even if you're training out of somewhere and you don't have your own place, like, that's the most important part. And then once you have that down and you're great at that, share those lessons, somewhere else, like on social media. And on that point, we got to end, and God damn it, because I always want to go for longer.
Hey, well, and there'll be another trip, because I got to get back here. We got more things to helicopter
this
to.
This is very true. But with that said, hey, guys, listen, check out, honestly, like, anything that Martin's put out from the certifications. But because Coaching Greatness was this weekend, I'll put a link in the notes for this. So for the next one coming up, there's also an online course which is phenomenal. Pretty much, Coaching Greatness is a foundation for the Vigor team, period. Like, they have to go through it. And once again, what I would remind you is this: just like the most powerful books, you should reread them every year, every 2 years. you know, this weekend was just a reminder that like, man, I got to do this every year, every 2 years. Like I have to do it because it's just like the fundamentals. Like you have to keep becoming a master at it. And man, this is foundational stuff that every single person and every coach should do. So definitely check that out. And then obviously check out all the books that Martin's wrote. Catch him at one of the next Perform Betters, man. Like, and you know, I can't say enough great things about him. He's been a huge mentor and a huge, I would say, inspiration in my life. With that said, we'll have you back because we got more adventures to do.
If you like this one, tell him about it. So, you know, most popular one he ever did.
Give it 5
Coaching
stars.
you back up.
Yeah, and it's like put it in the reviews and like make a point of it. I was like, all right. With that said, hey, Coach Luka's out, Martin's out. We'll see you again next time on Vigor Life Podcast. Peace.